beggar used to live at a city's railway station. He survived by begging from passengers traveling on the trains. One day, while he was begging, he noticed a tall man dressed in a suit. He thought, "This man looks very wealthy. If I beg from him, he will surely give me a good amount of money." He approached the tall man and started begging. Seeing the beggar, the tall man said, "You always ask for something, but do you ever give anything to anyone?" The beggar replied, "Sir, I am just a beggar. I always ask people for money. I have nothing to give anyone." The tall man smiled and said, "If you cannot give anything, then you have no right to ask either. I am a businessman, and I believe in transactions. If you have something to give me in return, only then will I give you something." Just then, the train arrived at the station where the tall man had to get off. He stepped off the train and walked away. The beggar kept thinking about what the tall man had said. The words of the tall man touched the beggar's heart. He started wondering, maybe I don't get much money in alms because I don't offer anything in return. But I am just a beggar. I have nothing to give anyone. How long can I keep asking people for something without giving them anything in return? After much thought, he decided that from now on, he would give something to anyone who gave him alms. But what could he possibly offer? For 2 days, he struggled to find an answer. Then, on the third day, while sitting near the station, he noticed some flowers blooming on the plants nearby. He thought, "Why don't I give flowers in exchange for alms?" He liked the idea and picked some flowers. Now, whenever someone gave him alms, he would hand them a flower in return. People happily accepted the flowers and kept them. Soon, he noticed that more people started giving him alms. Every day, he would pick flowers and distribute them in exchange for alms. When he had flowers, he received more alms. When he ran out of flowers, the alms also stopped coming. One day, while begging, he saw the same tall man sitting in the train. The beggar immediately approached him and said, "Today, I have something to give you. If you give me alms, I will give you flowers in return." The tall man gave him some money, and the beggar handed him some flowers. The tall man was pleased and said, "Wow, today you have become a businessman like me." Saying this, he got off at his station. Once again, the tall man's words struck a chord in the beggar's heart. He kept thinking about them and felt happy. His eyes sparkled as he realized that he had found the key to success. Excited, he stepped off the train, looked up at the sky, and shouted, "I am not a beggar. I am a businessman. I can become like that tall man. I can become rich." People around him thought he had gone mad. The next day, he was nowhere to be seen at the station. However, 6 months later, at the same station, 2 well-dressed men were traveling. When they saw each other, one of them extended his hand and said, "Do you recognize me?" The second man replied, "No, because I believe this is our first meeting." The first man smiled and said, "No, think again. We have met twice before." The second man was puzzled and asked, "I don't remember. When did we meet before?" The first man smiled again and said, "We met twice before on this very train. I am the same beggar you once told what I should do with my life, and in our second meeting you told me who I really am." The second man was astonished and said, "Oh, now I remember. You are the beggar I once refused to give alms to, and the second time I bought flowers from you. But today you are dressed in a suit. Where are you going and what are you doing nowadays?" The first man replied, "Yes, I was that beggar, but today I am a successful flower businessman. I am traveling to another city for business purposes." After a brief pause, he continued, "You taught me a natural rule, that we only receive something when we give something in return. The rule of transactions truly works, and I have experienced it firsthand. But I always considered myself a beggar and never thought beyond that. When we met for the second time, you told me that I had already become a businessman. That's when I understood why people were giving me so much money, not as alms, but in exchange for the flowers. They were buying flowers from me at a price they couldn't get anywhere else. In their eyes, I was a small businessman, but in my own eyes, I was still a beggar. It was only after you pointed it out that I realized the truth. With the money I earned by giving flowers, I bought more flowers and started my own business. People in this city love flowers, and their love for them has made me a successful businessman today. Both businessmen smiled and continued their conversation as they walked together. This story teaches us many valuable lessons. The tall businessman understood the rule of give and take very well. The world's greatest businessmen have succeeded by following this principle. He shared this wisdom with the beggar, who applied it to his life, and the results were evident. The beggar realized what he needed to do, but due to his limited thinking, he continued to see himself as just a beggar. He never recognized his own potential or awakened his self-respect. As a result, he couldn't change his thinking. This story shows us that changing our mindset can help us achieve anything. If we always consider ourselves small, we will remain small. To become big, we need to think big. Only then can we achieve greatness. In the story, the beggar saw himself as a beggar and remained one. But once he realized he was a businessman, his perspective changed, and so did his life. The tall man simply awakened his self-respect, and this change in thinking transformed his life. Self-respect is nothing but the way we perceive ourselves. Learn this rule of nature, awaken your self-respect, and change your thinking. Think big and see how your life transforms. You will find yourself standing on the peak of success. If you like this motivational story, let us know in the comments and share it with your friends. Thank you.